Please like the video and subscribe to my channel isekai'd. Hearts Across Dimensions. Chapter 1. The Sudden Return. Congratulations, host. After completing the mission successfully and consecutively, the System Lord decided to return you to your world and granted your wish, which was to become the richest man in your world. Congratulations again, host, and have a great life. A robotic voice echoed in my head as I tried to process what it was saying. Cold and flat as it had always been. This cannon fodder system that had been assigning me missions across countless worlds for what felt like centuries had now announced I was finally free. I remembered clearly how it all began. Back then, I was just a poor orphan, struggling to survive, working 5 part-time jobs every single day just to keep myself alive, eating cheap instant noodles and sleeping on hard floors. In that moment of utter desperation and loneliness, I had foolishly wished to be the richest man in the world, thinking wealth was the only thing that could fix everything. That desperate wish became the foundation of my contract. But now, everything had changed. I had traveled through 8 different worlds, lived 8 different lives, and experienced things I never could have imagined back in that cold, lonely life. I had learned knowledge and skills I never had the luxury of studying before. But more importantly, I had been loved. I had learned how to love in return. I had built families. I had husbands who worshipped the ground I walked on, children who called me daddy with pure, bright voices. I had known the warmth of being someone's everything, the safety of belonging, the joy of having people to come home to. Remembering all those faces, all those moments of laughter, warmth, and tenderness, my heart clenched painfully in my chest, and my eyes immediately began to water. That old wish to be rich felt so small, so meaningless, so empty compared to what I had gained. System. Wait! I cried out, panic rising fast in my chest. I don't want to go back to my world. But it was too late. There was a sharp, blinding flash of white light, and then the numbness that I had grown so accustomed to over centuries of missions finally faded. The connection was cut off instantly. There was no negotiation, no delay. Just the sudden, jarring sensation of solid ground beneath my feet and the biting chill of damp air. When I opened my eyes, I was back. Back in the tiny, windowless basement apartment I had lived in before everything began. The walls were stained, the mattress on the floor was thin and worn, and the only light came from a single flickering bulb hanging from the ceiling. This was the place I had called home when I was alone, poor, and desperate, the life I thought I wanted to return to, until I knew what real home actually felt like. You wanted this. The system's voice whispered one last time, soft and distant, like an echo carried away by wind, before falling into total silence. Your oldest wish, to return home, to be free, to have infinite wealth and comfort. You are now the richest person in this world. You have everything you ever asked for. Everything I asked for. I looked around the cold, empty room, and a hollow ache began to expand in my chest, growing until it threatened to tear me apart. Infinite wealth? Being the richest man in the world? I didn't want it. I didn't want any of it. What was the point of gold and power if I had to stand here in silence? What was the value of endless fortune if there was no warm arm around my waist? No deep voice whispering my name. No small feet running toward me calling me daddy. I fell to my knees, my hands clutching at the rough fabric of my shirt, gasping for air as panic seized me. System! I shouted hysterically, my voice cracking, bouncing off the bare concrete walls. System! Please bring me back to them. I don't want this anymore. Bring me back to Kael, to Tianhao, to Zane, to all of them. Please. I don't want to be rich. I want my families. Bring them to me, or send me back. I screamed until my throat was raw, until tears blurred my vision and spilled hot and fast down my cheeks. I pounded my fists against the cold floor, begging, pleading, bargaining. But the system remained silent. The connection was severed. The contract was ended. I was discarded back here, alone with the reward I had once thought was everything, but which now felt like the cruelest punishment imaginable. I curled up on the dusty floor, burying my face in my arms, and wept. I wept for the silver fur that used to wrap around me like a blanket. I wept for the silk robes and the golden throne rooms. I wept for the modern kitchens, the starships, the magical skies, the royal gardens, the warm nests, and the blue oceans. I wept for every husband who had sworn I was their whole world, and every child who had called me their home. Hours passed, or maybe days. I didn't know. Time had lost all meaning. Eventually, my sobs quieted into hiccups, and I noticed something on the small table beside the mattress. A small, glowing card appeared out of thin air, the final gift from the system. I dragged myself over and picked it up. On it were lines of elegant script. Host Li Wei, you have earned the ultimate reward. Your fortune is limitless, accessible anywhere, anytime. Though the worlds are separated by boundaries that no magic or science can easily cross, love is a force unlike any other. It does not die and it does not fade. They have not forgotten you. They are looking for you. Wait for them. Build a place worthy of your reunion. They will find you again. I clutched the card to my chest, pressing it against my heart as if it were a lifeline. They will find me again. It wasn't over. The separation was only temporary. I wasn't abandoned. I wiped my face, taking a deep, shaky breath. The despair was still there, heavy and painful, but beneath it, a spark of fierce determination ignited. I stood up, looking at the ugly, cramped basement one last time. I would leave this place behind. I would do exactly what the note said. I would wait, and while I waited, I would build them the most beautiful home the world had ever seen. Hearts Across Dimensions. Chapter 2. Building Our World. 6 months had passed since I was left alone in that cold basement. 6 months of relentless work, of turning grief into action, of shaping the land and the buildings into a living promise. I stood now on the highest balcony of the central mansion, looking out over the vast estate I had created. Thousands of acres of land, purchased and reshaped to my exact desires, bordered by the sparkling blue ocean on one side and protected by natural mountain barriers on the other. There were no neighbors, no noise, no crowds. Only the wind, the water, and the silence I had filled with memories. Every single detail here was designed with them in mind. I didn't build a mansion for myself. I built a kingdom for us. To the west, where the land rose into hills, I had planted an ancient, dense forest. Tall oak and pine trees grew thick and wild, just like the territory Kael ruled over. There were winding trails, clear streams bubbling over smooth stones, and open glades carpeted in soft moss. I even stocked the woods with deer, rabbits, and birds, knowing how much he loved the wild, and how happy our cubs would be running freely among the trees. The air there always smelled of damp earth and pine needles, and whenever I walked there, I could almost feel the weight of his silver arm draped over my shoulders. In the center of the property lay a massive, crystal-clear lake, fed by natural springs. It was wide enough to swim in, deep enough for diving, and surrounded by willow trees and flowering shrubs. It connected to a rushing river that flowed all the way down to the sea. This waterway was the heart of the estate, bridging the wild forest, the elegant gardens, and the coastal shores. Surrounding the main house were sprawling, meticulously maintained gardens. I had lotus ponds, bamboo groves, winding stone paths, and pavilions with curved tiled roofs, exactly like the imperial palace where Tianhao had made me his equal. Every variety of peony, chrysanthemum, and orchid he once gave me was planted here, blooming in cycles, so there was always something beautiful to look at. I had workrooms filled with high-quality paper, ink, brushes, and rare books, ready for the days we would spend writing poetry or painting side by side. Toward the east, the architecture shifted. Sleek, modern wings made of glass and steel stretched out, filled with natural light. This was for Zane. I built spacious, open-plan living areas, a professional-grade kitchen bigger than most restaurants, and high-tech entertainment zones. Attached to this section was a fully functional private shopping mall within the grounds. Clothing stores, toy shops, electronics, groceries, everything we could ever need, so that when he arrived, he could spoil me and the children endlessly, just as he always loved to do. I also built a private airport nearby, with a fleet of jets and yachts ready, knowing his love for travel and comfort. Further out, I designed vast, manicured lawns and rose gardens, perfect for Prince Adrian. There were stables filled with the finest horses, ready for rides, and ballrooms with high ceilings, polished floors, and crystal chandeliers waiting for the nights we would dance. I imagined him in his white uniform, holding out a hand to me, his smile soft and kind, and my chest ached with longing. For General Vorn, I built sturdy, grand structures built like fortresses but lined with softness. Rooms with incredibly high ceilings to accommodate his massive frame, wide balconies overlooking the horizon, and open fields large enough to run, train, or even land a ship if magic allowed. I installed powerful telescopes and towers dedicated just to watching the stars, remembering how we used to lie on the deck of his ship, watching galaxies drift by while he told me I was his only home. Higher up, on the cliffs where the sunlight was brightest, stood a tower of white stone and glass, surrounded by floating gardens and glowing plants I had imported from every corner of the earth. This was for Elian, the light god. I had built pools of clear water that shimmered like liquid starlight, and rooms where the sunlight hit from dawn till dusk, filling the space with warmth. I wanted him to feel his magic here, to feel close to the sky and the light he commanded. Then there was the warmest, coziest part of the estate. A massive complex of rooms clustered together, insulated and soundproofed, filled with endless cushions, soft rugs, heavy curtains, and fireplaces. This was the sanctuary for Kai and Rian, the twin enigmas. I built a bedroom that was more like a hall, with a bed so large it looked like a platform, piled high with furs, blankets, and pillows. Our nest. It was a space designed for closeness, for safety, for the overwhelming warmth of being sandwiched between two men who loved me equally and completely. And finally, along the coast, lay the domain of Lyre, my merman prince. I had carved deep, natural-looking pools connected directly to the ocean, with saltwater filtration systems to keep it pure and clean. The buildings here were made of smooth stone, shell decorations, and glass walls looking out into the blue water. The floors were heated, the air always humid and fresh, and the beach stretched for miles of soft white sand and gentle waves. I wanted him to be able to shift freely, to swim in the ocean or walk on land, to sing to the tides just like he used to. But it wasn't just the husbands I prepared for. There were the children. Attached to every husband's suite, or placed nearby in family wings, were bedrooms for all of them. For rooms for Kael's cubs, decorated with animal motifs and sturdy furniture. 2 grand chambers for Tianhao's princes. 3 bright, playful rooms for Zane's adopted siblings. 2 cheerful nurseries turned bedrooms for Adrian's heirs. 5 spacious, energetic spaces for Vorn's rowdy brood. 1 magical, whimsical room for Elian's special child. For soft, safe rooms for the twins' pups. And 3 water-themed rooms for Lyre's water-loving babies. Every bed was made with fresh linens chosen in their favorite colors. Every toy, every book, every game, every stuffed animal I remembered them loving was bought and placed exactly where they liked it. I even stocked wardrobes with clothes in different sizes, ready for them to grow into. I lived here alone, but I was never lonely, not really. My days were filled with them. Every morning, I woke up and went room to room. I dusted shelves that didn't gather dust. I polished furniture that was already shining. I adjusted the curtains to let the sun in or keep it out, exactly how they preferred. I walked through the gardens, touching every flower, checking every tree. I swam in the lake, walked along the beach, sat in the quiet libraries, and lay down in the center of the big nest bed, imagining the weight of bodies pressing against me. Every night, I went to the place that felt closest to the sky, or stood by the edge of the sea, or sat deep in the forest where it was quietest. I closed my eyes and I spoke. Kael, Tianhao, Zane, Adrian, Vorn, Elian, Kai, Rian, Lyre. I whispered every name slowly, lovingly, like a chant. I love you. I miss you so much. I am here. I have made our home. Everything is ready. The forest is green. The palace is grand. The city is bright. The gardens are blooming. The stars are clear. The light is warm. The nest is soft. And the sea is waiting. Come find me. I am waiting. I love you. I miss you. I repeated those words until my throat was dry, until sleep took me, and then I woke up the next day and did it all over again. People in the outside world thought I was a strange, reclusive billionaire. They didn't know that every stone in these walls, every tree in this land, every inch of this place was built on love and longing. I had infinite wealth, yes. I could buy anything, travel anywhere, have anything a human could want. But I had given up everything that truly mattered once, and I would wait as long as it took to get it back. Because somewhere, across dimensions, across time and space, they were looking for me too. I knew it in my bones. I felt the pull of our bond, faint but steady, like a heartbeat in the back of my mind. And one day, soon, I knew they would step through the boundaries of the worlds, right into the home I had built just for them. Chapter 3, Memories, Beastman World. Kael. The memory comes to me as clear as daylight, triggered by the scent of pine drifting through the open balcony doors. It's the first life I lived after signing that contract, the first time I learned what it meant to be cherished, and the first man who taught me that love could be as wild and vast as the forest itself. When I arrived in that world, I was still the old Wei, skittish, used to hardship, convinced I had to fight for every scrap of happiness. I was dropped at the edge of the Silverwood tribe's territory, cold, hungry, and terrified of the towering, powerful beings that ruled these lands. The Beastmen. They were said to be fierce, territorial, and dangerous to outsiders. I expected to be chased away or killed. Instead, I was claimed. I remember the first time I saw him. He stepped out from between the massive tree trunks, sunlight filtering through the canopy to catch the silver of his fur. In his half-form, he was breathtaking. Easily 7 feet tall, broad shoulders that looked strong enough to carry a boulder, antlers branching proudly from his head, and eyes the color of rich, warm amber that locked onto me and refused to let go. Even then, I could feel the sheer weight of his attention, heavy and possessive, wrapping around me like a physical touch. "You!" His voice rumbled, deep as thunder vibrating through the ground. He didn't ask my name or where I came from. He just walked straight toward me, his stride powerful and smooth, and knelt down so he could look me in the eye. His large, clawed hand came up, touching my cheek so gently I almost couldn't believe it belonged to someone so big. "You smell like mine. You are mine." That was Kael, the Alpha, the strongest warrior of the tribe, feared by enemies and respected by his people. But to me, he was nothing but warmth. Life with him was simple, raw, and incredibly sweet. Our home was a large wooden lodge deep within the forest, built by his own hands, lined with firs and heated by a massive central hearth. Every night, when the cold winds of the long season blew outside, Kael would shift fully into his beast form, a magnificent silver stag larger than any horse, and curl his body around me. He was my bed, my blanket, and my heater all in one. I would bury my hands into the thick, soft fur of his neck, rest my head against his chest, and listen to the slow, powerful rhythm of his heart. He would nuzzle me constantly, his wet nose rubbing against my neck or my jaw, making low, content-chuffing sounds that vibrated right into my bones. "You are my treasure," he would whisper, shifting back to his human form just to hold me closer, his arms wrapping around my waist, pulling me until there was zero space left between us. His skin was always hot, radiating a constant heat that chased away every chill. "The whole forest, the whole world can burn, but as long as I have you, I have everything. I love you." We became a family quickly. Within a year, our home was filled with the patter of tiny paws and high-pitched chirps. 4 cubs, 2 boys, 2 girls, born with his silver fur and my human features. They were wild little things, energetic and curious, climbing up curtains, scaling trees, and chasing butterflies until they collapsed from exhaustion. Kael was a terrifying force on the battlefield, but around our children, he was nothing but a giant, soft playmate. He would let them climb all over his back and antlers, pretending to be a mountain or a moving carriage, his laugh echoing through the trees. Our days were spent in freedom. We ran through the forest, racing until our lungs burned, Kael always holding back just enough to let me win sometimes. We swam in the freezing, crystal-clear mountain rivers, where he would lift me effortlessly out of the water, holding me high above the current, kissing me while I shivered and laughed. We went on family hunts, where Kael taught the cubs how to track prey and respect the land, but always made sure they understood that their most important duty was to protect their other father. He is fragile compared to us, Kael would tell them seriously, pointing at me while I gathered berries. He is soft and he is precious. If anything ever comes near him, you defend him with your lives. Do you understand? He is the heart of this pack. And when the sun went down and the cubs were asleep in their pile of furs, it was just us. That was when his possessiveness came out in full force. He was insatiable, desperate to touch every inch of me, to leave his scent on every part of my skin, to make sure I knew exactly who I belonged to. He would kiss me deeply, his tongue warm and demanding, his hands rough with calluses but reverent in how he handled me. He loved to hold me down on our bed of furs, his heavy body covering mine, grounding me, surrounding me. Say it. He would growl against my throat, biting gently just to make me gasp. Tell me you belong to me. Tell me I am yours. I'm yours, I would whisper, wrapping my legs around his waist, pulling him closer. Only yours. I love you, Kael. It was perfect. It was everything. But even the best seasons must end. I remember the day the system notified me that my mission was complete, that my time in this world was finished, and that the transfer was imminent. I didn't tell Kael. Couldn't. I just held on to him tighter than usual that morning, refusing to let go, tears soaking into his silver fur before I could stop them. He noticed, of course. Nothing slipped past him. He turned me in his arms, holding my face between his large hands, looking deep into my eyes with that intelligent, instinctual gaze. He didn't know about worlds or systems, but he knew me. He knew something was wrong. You are leaving, he said, not asking, stating it as a fact. His voice was steady, but pain flashed in those amber eyes, sharp and deep. I feel it, the bond. It feels like it is stretching, pulling you away from me. I don't want to go, I sobbed, clinging to his shoulders. Kael, I don't want to leave you or the cubs. I want to stay here forever. He pulled me against his chest, crushing me in a hug so tight it nearly stopped my breath, burying his face in my hair, inhaling my scent as if trying to memorize every molecule of it. He held me like that for hours, days it felt like, refusing to move, refusing to let anything separate us even an inch. I don't know where you are going, he murmured, his voice thick with emotion, kissing the top of my head, my forehead, my cheeks, my lips, over and over again. I don't know what lies beyond the sky or the mountains, but listen to me, my treasure. You are the soul of my life. Nothing can break the bond between mates. Not distance, not time, not death itself. He pulled back just enough to look at me, his expression fierce, determined, eternal. I will find you. If you go to the ends of the earth, I will run until my paws bleed to follow. If you go beyond the stars, I will climb the heavens to reach you. I belong to you and you belong to me. I will follow you to the ends of the worlds. Li Wei, wait for me. And then the light took me, tearing me away from his arms, away from the crying cubs, away from the forest that had been my home. But he kept his promise. I knew he did. Sitting here now, in the estate I built for us, looking out toward the dense woods I planted just for him, I run my hand over the rough wooden furniture in his room, touching the carved antler motifs I had designed. I am waiting, Kael. Run fast. I am here. Chapter 4. Memories, Ancient China. Emperor Tianhao. The soft rustle of bamboo leaves outside my window carries me back, and suddenly, I am no longer in a modern mansion. I am standing in a vast, silent palace, surrounded by the scent of sandalwood incense and the heavy, elegant drape of silk robes. This was my second life, the second world that taught me love had no boundaries, and the man who showed me that even absolute power bows down before devotion. If Kael's love was a wild, rushing river, Tianhao's was a deep, calm ocean, vast, all-encompassing, and filled with hidden depths of adoration. When I arrived in this world, I was cast as a lowly servant, invisible and easily forgotten in the sprawling Forbidden City. I thought my role would be to stay in the shadows, observing the powerful emperor from afar. But Tianhao, he was different. From the moment I accidentally stumbled into his path, dropping a tray of tea and trembling in fear, he didn't see a servant. He saw me. He stood tall and regal, draped in imperial yellow and deep crimson silk, his features carved with a beauty that was almost divine. His eyes were dark as midnight, sharp and commanding to everyone else, but when they landed on me, they softened instantly, turning warm and mesmerizing. He reached out, catching my chin between his long, slender fingers, lifting my face until I had no choice but to look at him. "Do not lower your head," he said, his voice low, cultured, and absolute. "I wish to see you. I wish to see only you." That was how it began. Within days, I was moved from the servant quarters to the main palace, given robes of the finest brocade, jewels that outshone those of the highest concubines, and a position that baffled the entire court. I wasn't a minister and I wasn't a consort, not officially. I was simply Li Wei, the one person the emperor listened to, the one person he sought out every single day. Tianhao ruled an empire of millions. He held the power of life and death over every soul in the land. But when he was with me, he laid all that power at my feet. "My lord," his ministers would protest, "you cannot change the laws just because Li Wei said so. You cannot grant amnesty to the whole province on his word alone." Tianhao would simply smile, that cold, imperial smile vanishing the moment he looked at me, replaced by a look of utter, besotted worship. "Why not? If my Li Wei says it is good, then it is good. His wisdom is greater than all of yours combined. He is not just my partner. He is the other half of my soul. I rule the empire, but he rules me." Life with him was steeped in elegance and quiet passion. We spent our mornings in the imperial gardens, walking along the lotus ponds while he recited poetry he had written just for me. We sat together on the dragon throne during audiences, not beside him, but behind him, my chair placed slightly higher than his, so that everyone knew who truly held his heart. He would hold my hand under the sleeve of his robe while dealing with state affairs, his thumb rubbing gentle circles into my skin, grounding himself in my presence. His touch was always reverent. He treated me like a precious artifact, something rare and holy that must be handled with infinite care. At night, behind the carved doors of his private chambers, he would help me undress, his fingers moving slowly, undoing every button and knot with agonizing slowness, kissing every inch of skin revealed as the silk fell away. "You are my sun and stars," he would whisper against my chest, his lips trailing up my neck to my jaw. "Before you, my life was only darkness and duty. I was the emperor alone at the top of the world. But you climbed up here and made this cold palace a home. You are the light that guides my every step." We had twin boys, perfect little princes with his black hair and my eyes. Tianhao was a proud father, parading them around the court, showing them off to officials as if they were the greatest treasures of the empire, which, to him, they were. But even with the children, I remained his absolute priority. He hired the best wet nurses and tutors, not because he didn't want to care for them, but because he wanted to make sure I was never tired, never burdened, never needing to lift a finger unless I wanted to. "Let them play," he would say, wrapping his arms around my waist and pulling me back against his chest, watching the twins chase each other around the pavilion pillars. "They have a whole lifetime to be princes. I have only a little while to hold you before the day ends. Let me cherish you first." Our nights were slow, deep, and intoxicating. He loved to worship my body, kissing from my toes all the way up to my forehead, murmuring endless praise, telling me I was beautiful, perfect, everything he ever wanted. He would hold me close, skin pressed tight against skin, moving inside me with a rhythm that was as much about emotion as it was about pleasure, looking deep into my eyes the entire time as if he were memorizing my soul. "Tell me you are mine," he would command softly, his voice thick with desire and love. "Tell me I am the only one who has you. I am yours." I would breathe, tangling my fingers into his long black hair. "Only yours, Tianhao. My emperor, my love, my everything." But duty for me was always temporary. I remember the day the system's notification rang in my mind. Mission complete. Departure imminent. I tried to hide my tears during our calligraphy lesson. We were sitting at his sandalwood desk, brushes in hand, working on a scroll together. He noticed immediately when my hand trembled and the ink blurred. He dropped his brush instantly, turning me around to face him, his expression shifting from gentle to terrified in a heartbeat. What is it? Why are you crying? Li Wei, look at me. I have to go. I choked out, grabbing his silk robes, clinging to them as if I could anchor myself to this world through him. Tianhao, I have to leave. I don't want to, but I have to. He didn't ask why or where. He knew, somehow, that there were things beyond even his imperial power to control. He pulled me into his arms, crushing me against him, burying his face in the crook of my neck, his usually composed shoulders shaking with silent sobs. He held me there for hours, refusing to let go, refusing to eat or sleep or do anything but hold me, as if he could physically keep me here by sheer willpower. When the time came, he didn't fight the inevitable. Instead, he took a small, rectangular jade token from around his neck, an ancient heirloom, the symbol of imperial authority, and pressed it into my hand, closing my fingers tightly around it. It was warm from his skin, carved with the image of a dragon and a phoenix entwined together. Take this, he said, his voice steady but broken, kissing my knuckles one by one. It holds my power, my essence, and every promise I have ever made to you. I cannot follow you now. The boundaries of this world are strong. But listen to me, my love. He looked into my eyes, his gaze burning with absolute certainty. My heart stays with you. It beats in your chest now, not mine. Wherever you go, whatever form you take, whatever world you wake up in, I will find the thread that binds us. I will cross any sea, climb any mountain, tear down any barrier between worlds just to stand before you again. You are my emperor, and I am your loyal subject forever. I love you forever, Li Wei. Wait for me. And then the light came and I was pulled away, the sight of him standing alone in the vast palace, holding on to the empty air where I had been, etched forever into my memory. I touched the small, identical jade token I wore around my neck now. One of the first things I placed in this house, right in the center of his room. I ran my fingers over the smooth carving, feeling the warmth of it, feeling the promise inside. I am waiting, Tianhao. My throne is empty without you. Come rule my heart again. Chapter 5. Memories Modern World. CEO Zane. The glass walls and sleek furniture of the modern wing I built here always bring him to mind instantly. Zane. My cold, untouchable business tycoon who softened into nothing but warmth the moment I stepped into his space. This was my third world, and if the previous loves were wild rivers or deep oceans, Zane's love was a steady, all-consuming flame, bright, constant, and burning only for me. When I arrived here, I was placed as a new intern in his massive multinational corporation. Everyone knew who Zane was, the youngest, most powerful CEO in the country, famous for being ruthless, unapproachable, and entirely devoid of emotion. Reporters called him the Ice King. His employees trembled at the sound of his footsteps. Business rivals learned to fear his name. He was perfection, efficiency, and absolute coldness wrapped in an expensive tailored suit. And then I walked in, and the ice melted completely. I remember the first time I was called into his office, terrified I had done something wrong. I stood before his massive desk, head bowed, heart hammering, waiting for the sharp criticism or cold dismissal I had heard he gave everyone. But when he spoke, his voice wasn't icy. It was confused, low, and threaded with something like awe. Look at me, he said. I lifted my head, and I saw it. That face, usually set in hard, unyielding lines, had gone completely soft. His sharp gray eyes, which usually looked at the world with calculation or disdain, were locked onto me, wide and mesmerized. He stood up slowly, walking around the desk, his movements precise and elegant, until he was standing right in front of me. He reached out, adjusting my crooked collar with fingers that trembled just slightly. You, he murmured, as if recognizing a long-lost piece of himself. Where did you come from? Why does it feel like I've been waiting for you my whole life? Within a week, I wasn't just an intern. I was living in his penthouse apartment, occupying the master bedroom, and effectively ruling his entire life. To the rest of the world, Zane remained the terrifying, untouchable genius. But behind the closed doors of our home, he was nothing but a clingy, affectionate man who couldn't bear to be more than 3 feet away from me. He spoiled me beyond belief. Whatever I looked at, I owned. Whatever I mentioned liking, he bought 10 of. He built a private kitchen because I liked to cook, filled it with every gadget and ingredient imaginable, and then stood right in the doorway watching me the entire time, unable to tear his eyes away. His favorite thing in the whole world was to come up behind me while I was chopping vegetables or stirring a pot, wrap his long arms tight around my waist, and bury his face in the crook of my neck. He would inhale deeply, breathing in my scent, and sigh against my skin, his whole body relaxing as if my presence alone was the only thing that could ease the weight of his work. Hard day, I would ask, smiling, leaning back against his solid chest. Terrible, he'd mumble, kissing the sensitive spot right below my ear, his hands sliding under my shirt just to touch the warm skin of my stomach. Everyone is stupid. Everything is annoying. Nothing works right. And I missed you. Every second I was away from you felt like an hour. I missed you so much it hurt. We built our family not through birth, but through choice. We adopted 3 siblings, 2 boys and a girl, who had lost their parents in an accident. Zane, who everyone thought was heartless, turned out to be the most devoted father. He learned to change diapers, he woke up at 3 in the morning to make bottles, he attended every school play and sports day, sitting in the front row clapping the loudest. He taught them that kindness was strength, and that love was the most important thing in the world. Your fatherly way is the best person who ever lived, he would tell them seriously, while I listened nearby, my heart swelling. We have to take care of him, protect him, and make sure he is always happy, because he is the one who makes our whole world bright. Our days were filled with normal, perfect happiness. We went to amusement parks where he let us drag him onto every ride, laughing at our excitement even though he preferred quiet. We traveled the world, staying in the finest hotels, but he always said the best part of the trip wasn't the destination. It was the hotel room, just us together. We had movie nights on the massive sofa, the children piled up on one side, Zane and I tangled together on the other, his hand resting possessively on my thigh the whole time. And at night, when the house was quiet, his passion came alive. He was intense, hungry, and endlessly devoted. He loved skin-to-skin contact. We slept naked together almost every night, because he said he needed to feel every inch of me against him to feel grounded. He would kiss me until I was dizzy, his hands exploring every curve and scar, worshipping my body like it was a temple. I love you, he would whisper over and over, between kisses, moving inside me slowly, deeply, staring into my eyes as if he wanted to memorize my soul. You are mine. I am yours. I missed you. I love you. I need you. He repeated those phrases like a mantra, never tiring of saying them, never doubting them. But even this perfect, modern life had an expiration date. I remember the day clearly. We were in the kitchen, just finishing dinner. Zane was washing the dishes. He always insisted on helping, while I dried them. I felt the familiar cold ping of the system's notification in my mind. Mission accomplished. Transfer in T-1 hour. The plate slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. Zane spun around instantly, seeing the tears already spilling down my face. He didn't care about the broken porcelain. He was at my side in a second, grabbing my hands, checking if I was cut, panic flooding his usually calm features. Baby? What's wrong? Why are you crying? Did I do something? Tell me. Please, tell me what hurts. I have to go, Zane, I sobbed, collapsing against his chest, gripping his shirt with all my strength. I have to leave. I can't stay here anymore. I don't want to go. God. I don't want to leave you or the kids. But I have to. He froze. He knew, just like the others knew, that there were things about me he couldn't explain, things beyond his understanding or control. His arms tightened around me, crushing me to him. His face buried in my hair, his body shaking violently as he started to cry too, silent, heavy sobs that tore at my heart. He held me so tight I could barely breathe, as if he could physically hold the world together just to keep me here. "Every second without you is pain," he choked out, his voice raw and broken. "You think I don't know? Every time you step out of the house, I count the minutes until you come back. I hate sleeping alone. I hate waking up if you aren't the first thing I see. How am I supposed to live a whole life without you?" He pulled back just enough to look at me, his gray eyes red-rimmed but burning with fierce determination. He cupped my face in both hands, his thumbs wiping away my tears, his touch desperate and loving. "Listen to me. I don't care where you go. I don't care what form you take or what world you end up in. I have money, I have power, I have resources no one else has. I will research everything. I will find every ancient text, every legend, every possible way to cross boundaries. I will tear apart the laws of the universe if I have to." He kissed me then, a deep, consuming, desperate kiss that tasted of salt and love and eternal promise. "I will find you," he vowed, his forehead pressed against mine. "No matter how long it takes. Every second without you is torture, and I will not endure it forever. I will find you, Li Wei. And when I do, I am never letting go again." Then the light took me, and I vanished from his arms, leaving him standing there in our warm kitchen, surrounded by the echoes of our happy life, alone. I looked around the modern wing of my estate now, at the high-tech appliances, the comfortable sofas, the massive bed, and the shopping mall I built just because he loved spoiling me. I touched the spot on the counter where we used to stand together. "I am here, Zane. I have waited every second. Come find me. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel isekai'd BL. Chapter 6. Memories, Royal Realm. Prince Adrian. Walking through the manicured rose gardens and approaching the grand ballroom I had built always filled my chest with a soft, aching tenderness. This place was crafted for Adrian, my fourth world, my crown prince who loved with the heart of a gentleman and the soul of a knight. If Zane's love was fire, Adrian's was sunlight, warm, gentle, illuminating everything it touched, and making every day feel like a beautiful dream. When I arrived in this world, I was placed as a commoner, brought to the royal palace to work as an assistant in the library. I was quiet, used to staying in the background, content just to read and learn. But Adrian, he was the kind of man who noticed everything, especially the things others overlooked. I first saw him from a distance, standing tall and radiant in the palace courtyard. He was the heir to the throne, dressed in pristine white and blue, his golden hair catching the sun, his smile bright enough to outshine the stars. Everyone bowed and curtsied as he passed, terrified to speak out of turn. I kept my head down, eyes fixed on the books in my arms, trying to be invisible. But his footsteps stopped right in front of me. "Please, do not bow." His voice was soft, melodic, and incredibly kind. A gloved hand reached out, gently tilting my chin upward until I looked into his eyes. Eyes the color of the clearest sky, filled with warmth and curiosity. "I do not rule over subjects. I stand beside friends." "What is your name?" That was Adrian. Humble, brave, beloved by the people, and entirely too good for this world. He didn't care that I had no title, no wealth, no status. To him, I was the most precious treasure the kingdom had ever held. Within months, the announcement was made. The crown prince had chosen his consort. The court was shocked. The nobles were scandalized. But Adrian never wavered. He held my hand high before the entire kingdom, his thumb stroking my knuckles, his expression proud and unapologetic. "Status is born of chance," he had declared, his voice ringing through the great hall. "But love is a choice, and I choose him. I choose Li Wei, above all crowns, above all titles, above all else." Life with Adrian was like living inside a romance novel. He was the perfect gentleman, always opening doors, always offering his arm, always ensuring I was comfortable, safe, and happy. He treated me with a reverence that made me feel like royalty, even though he was the one born to rule. Our days were filled with grace and joy. We rode horses together through the royal forests, galloping side by side, the wind in our hair, laughing as we raced toward the horizon. We had picnics on the green hills, spread out with fine blankets and baskets of fruit and pastries, where he would read poetry to me or tell me stories of ancient heroes. We spent hours in the secret garden behind the palace, filled with every flower imaginable, where no one could see us, and he could drop his royal duties just to be a man in love. He loved to dance. Every evening, if we had time, he would pull me into his arms in the center of the ballroom. He would hum a melody, swaying us slowly across the polished floor, his hand resting firmly on my waist, guiding me perfectly. We didn't need music. His heartbeat was the only rhythm we needed. "You move like you were made to be held by me," he would whisper, his lips brushing my ear, making me shiver. Every step, every turn. "It feels as if my soul already knows yours by heart." In public, he was elegance and kindness itself. But in private, Adrian was passionate, intense, and entirely mine. He was a man of deep emotions, and once the doors were closed, the gentle prince transformed into a lover who worshipped every inch of my being. He loved slow, romantic kisses that lasted for minutes, his lips moving against mine with agonizing care, as if he were savoring every second. He loved to caress me, his hands tracing every line of my body, soft as silk, worshipping my skin. "You complete me," he would murmur, pressing open-mouthed kisses down my throat, over my chest, lower and lower, making me arch and gasp for him. "Before you, I was just a prince with a duty. I was empty. I was only half a person. But you came and filled every space inside me. You are my heart, my soul, my everything." We had 2 beautiful children, both boys, bright-eyed and cheerful, inheriting his golden hair and noble spirit. Adrian was the most patient father imaginable. He taught them to be kind before they learned to be rulers. He taught them that strength was found in protecting the weak, and that true nobility came from love, not blood. He would sit on the floor with them, playing knights and dragons, laughing louder than the children themselves, while I watched from the side, my heart so full it felt like bursting. "Look at them," he would say, wrapping an arm around my waist and pulling me close, resting his chin on my shoulder. "Our family, our perfect life. I never dared to dream I could have something this beautiful. Thank you, my love, for making me the happiest man alive." But happiness, as I had learned, was always measured in borrowed time. I remember the afternoon we were in the library, sitting together by the large window, watching the rain fall softly outside. Adrian was reading aloud, his voice calm and soothing, when the cold notification from the system rang in my mind. Mission complete. Departure imminent. The book slipped from my fingers and fell to the floor. Adrian was instantly alert. He saw the tears flooding my eyes, the way my hands were shaking uncontrollably. He knelt before me, taking my hands in his, pressing kisses to every finger, his expression shifting from confusion to heartbreak in a single breath. "You are leaving," he said. It wasn't a question. He knew. He always knew. "I can feel it. The air feels wrong. You feel distant, even though you are right here." "I don't want to go," I sobbed, leaning forward to rest my forehead against his, clutching his shoulders as if I could anchor myself here forever. "Adrian, please, I want to stay here with you and the boys. I want to grow old in this castle. I want to dance with you every night forever." He stood up and pulled me into his arms, holding me with a desperate tenderness. He buried his face in my neck, inhaling my scent, memorizing the feel of my body against his. He didn't cry. Adrian was too noble, too strong to fall apart, even when his own heart was breaking. But I felt the way his hands trembled, the way his breath hitched, the quiet agony radiating from him. "I do not understand where you go, or what lies beyond the sky," he said softly, pulling back just enough to look into my eyes. He took my hands and pressed a lingering, reverent kiss to each of my palms, sealing his promise into my skin. But I know this, I am yours. My crown, my title, my life, my soul. They all belong to you. They always have. He looked at me with absolute, unwavering certainty. The same look he wore when he swore to protect his kingdom. Wherever you are, that is my kingdom. Whatever world you stand in, that is where I belong. I do not care about distance or magic or barriers. I am a knight, and my only quest is you. I will search every realm, cross every ocean, climb every mountain, until I find my way back to your side. I love you, Li Wei. More than crowns, more than life, more than anything. Wait for me. I am coming. Then the light swallowed me whole, taking me away from his gentle touch, away from the castle that was our home, away from the only prince who ever ruled my heart. I stood now in the grand ballroom I had built, my hand resting on the polished wood of the dance floor. The chandeliers above glittered softly, waiting for him. The roses in the garden outside bloomed endlessly, waiting for him. I am waiting, Adrian. The music is ready. Come dance with me again. Chapter 7. Memories. Interstellar. General Vorn. The wide, open field stretching toward the horizon and the tall observation tower built high above the estate always draw my gaze upward, toward the stars. This was for Vorn, my fifth world, my mighty general, the warrior who conquered galaxies yet bowed to no one but me. Adrian's love was sunlight. Vorn's love was the universe itself. Vast, infinite, powerful beyond measure, and holding me as its very center. When I arrived in this world, humanity had spread across the stars, and the galactic empire ruled over thousands of planets. I was a civilian researcher assigned to work on his flagship, the Invincible. Everyone aboard knew General Vorn, the hero of 100 wars, the man who had defended the borders against alien threats time and again. A figure of legend, terrifying, awe-inspiring, and seemingly unshakable. He was not like the others. Vorn was huge, easily 7.5 feet tall, built like a walking fortress with muscles that could crush metal, skin marked with scars from battles, and features that were sharp, rugged, and intimidating to all but me. He had deep violet eyes that could freeze a soldier in his tracks, and a voice that boomed like thunder, used to giving orders that changed the course of history. The first time I was summoned to his private quarters, I was terrified. I thought I had made a mistake in my reports, or broken some regulation. I stood trembling before his massive desk, barely reaching above its surface, while he loomed over me, his presence heavy and commanding. But when he looked down at me, the terrifying general vanished instantly. His posture relaxed, his eyes widened, that terrifying expression melting away into something soft, disbelieving, and utterly captivated. He dropped to one knee before me. General Vorn, the strongest man in the galaxy, kneeling to a stranger, and reached out a large, calloused hand, fingers rough from holding weapons, touching my cheek with a gentleness that defied logic. "There you are," he rumbled, his voice lowered to a whisper, vibrating through the floor and right into my chest. "I have fought every battle, won every war, conquered every enemy. All just to make the galaxy safe enough for you to exist in. I didn't know what I was looking for until I saw you. You are here. Finally, you are here." To the rest of the universe, he was the unyielding shield of the Empire. To me, he was nothing but a soft-hearted giant who lived only to serve and protect. Life with Vorn was grand, wild, and full of adventure. We traveled from one end of the galaxy to the other, visiting ice planets that sparkled like diamonds, jungle worlds teeming with strange life, ocean planets where the water glowed in the dark. We stood on the bridges of massive starships, watching nebulas drift by like painted clouds, while he held me pressed against his chest, his arms wrapping around me completely, forming an impenetrable wall. He was proud of his strength, but he used it only for my safety and happiness. If I so much as stumbled, he swept me up into his arms before I could fall. If anyone dared to look at me wrong, a single glare from him sent them running. He loved carrying me everywhere, through corridors, across planets, up mountains, saying that my feet were too precious to touch rough ground. "Let me," he would say simply, adjusting me securely against his shoulder. You belong above everything, not walking in the dirt. We had 5 children, 5 loud, energetic, fearless warriors in training who inherited his size and his spirit. They were a handful, running at full speed, climbing everything, challenging each other to fights. Vorn was their commander and their hero, teaching them combat, strategy, and survival. But his favorite lesson, the one he drilled into them every single day, was this: strength is for protection, and the most precious thing you will ever protect is your fatherly way. He is small, he is soft, and he is the heart of this family. If a meteorite falls, you shield him. If an enemy comes, you die before you let them reach him. Do you understand? Our whole world revolves around him. And at night, when the children were asleep and the stars were visible through the clear glass of our quarters, his warrior armor came off, and only the lover remained. He loved to lie on large cushions or our huge bed, pulling me on top of him so I could touch every scar, every muscle, every part of him. He would hold my hips with those large hands, guiding me, supporting me, looking up at me with eyes full of worship and hunger. He loved when I traced the marks on his body, asking for the stories behind them. But he would always catch my hand, kiss my palm, and say, "These scars are nothing. They are just proof that I survived everything, so I could be here for you. You are my greatest battle, and my only victory." He was intense, passionate, and thorough. He would kiss me deeply, his tongue claiming my mouth, his body heavy and warm surrounding mine. He touched every inch of me, reverent and desperate, as if he were worshipping a god. "You are my home among the stars," he would groan, moving inside me with deep, powerful strokes that made me see galaxies. "I have no home on any planet. I have no home in any fortress. Only here, inside your arms, inside your heart. That is where I belong. You are my universe, Li Wei. I love you." But even across the stars, time ran out. I remember the night we were on the observation deck, lying on a thick rug, wrapped in a blanket, watching a meteor shower streak across the black sky. It was beautiful, peaceful, perfect. Then the system's voice cut through the serenity: "Mission complete. Transfer commencing." My body went rigid. Tears spilled over instantly, falling onto his chest where my head rested. Vorn felt the change immediately. He sat up slowly, holding me tight in his lap, his massive frame tensing as if preparing to fight an invisible enemy. He looked at me, his violet eyes searching mine, understanding dawning in their depths, raw pain flashing there like a supernova. "You are leaving," he stated, his voice low and heavy, sounding like a ship groaning under pressure. He didn't ask. He knew that nothing, not his rank, not his fleets, not his power, could stop this. "I don't want to leave you," I sobbed, clinging to the straps of his uniform, burying my face against his neck, breathing in the scent of star fuel and warm skin that was uniquely him. "I don't want to leave our children, our travels, our stars. Vorn, please, I don't want to go." He held me. He held me with a grip that could crush steel, but never hurt me. He rocked me back and forth, burying his face in my hair, his breathing ragged, his body trembling with the effort to hold back the roar of grief threatening to break free. He kissed the top of my head, my forehead, my eyelids, my lips, over and over, as if trying to memorize every atom of me before I vanished. "I have crossed the void," he whispered fiercely, pulling back to look into my eyes, his gaze burning with absolute resolve. "I have traveled through wormholes, fought creatures that defy imagination, gone to the edge of existence and back. All of it was nothing compared to this pain." He pressed his forehead against mine, his voice ringing with the oath of a soldier and the devotion of a husband. "Listen to me, my starlight. Space is vast, but it has no distance that can keep me from you. Dimensions are barriers, but I am a conqueror. I break barriers. I will tear apart the fabric of the universe if I have to. I will cross galaxies, defy physics, fight gods just to hold you again. Wherever you land, whatever world you are in, look up at the sky. I am coming. I promise you. I will find you. I love you. Forever." Then the light flashed and gravity vanished, and I was pulled away from his arms, away from the stars he ruled, away from the strongest man who had ever loved me. I stood now at the highest point of the observation tower, looking out at the night sky, millions of stars twinkling down at me. I rested my hands on the railings, built strong and high just for him. I am waiting, Vorn. The stars are aligned. Fly fast, my general. I am here. Hearts across dimensions. Chapter 8. Memories, Western Fantasy. Light God Elian. The sunlight streaming through the tall crystal windows of the highest tower, illuminating the floating gardens and glowing plants I had cultivated, always brings a soft, radiant warmth to my chest. This sanctuary was built for Elian, my sixth world, my divine lover, the being of pure light who taught me that love could be as ethereal and endless as the heavens themselves. If Vorn's love was the vast universe, Elian's love was the very light that filled it, brilliant, pure, all-encompassing, and making every shadow disappear the moment he appeared. When I arrived in this world, it was a land of magic, dragons, and gods walking among mortals. I was a simple villager, living quietly at the edge of the enchanted forest, tending to plants and herbs, unaware that my soul had already been recognized by the highest power of the realm. I first saw him standing at the edge of my small garden, and for a moment, I thought the sun itself had descended to earth. He was breathtakingly beautiful, ethereal, tall, with hair like spun gold that shimmered with a faint glow, skin that radiated a soft, warm luminescence, and eyes the color of a sky at dawn, filled with endless kindness and ancient wisdom. He wore robes of white and gold that flowed like liquid light, and wherever he stepped, flowers bloomed brighter and the air felt sweeter. He was the light god, revered by all, worshipped in grand temples, untouchable and perfect. But when his gaze fell on me, he didn't look like a deity receiving prayer. He looked like a traveler who had finally found his home. He moved toward me, his steps silent and graceful, as if he was barely touching the ground. He didn't bow, but he lowered himself until he was eye level with me, his presence wrapping around me like a gentle breeze, warm and safe. "There you are, my soul," he murmured, his voice like chimes carried on the wind, melodic and soothing, resonating deep inside my bones. He reached out a hand, fingers glowing softly, and touched my cheek so lightly it felt like a ray of sunshine brushing against my skin. "I have watched over countless ages, created stars and guided destinies, but none of it had meaning until I felt your existence. You are the reason light was created." That was Elian. He was divine, powerful, capable of moving mountains and stopping time, yet he used his miracles only to make me smile. Life with him was like living in a perpetual dream. He took me to his realm, a palace made of crystal and clouds, floating above the highest peaks, surrounded by gardens where every flower glowed, where water sparkled like liquid diamonds, and where the air was always filled with the sound of soft, magical music. He loved to show me the wonders of his world. We would fly together, his arms wrapped securely around my waist, soaring above the clouds, diving through rainbows, touching the stars. He used his magic to create things just for me. Birds that sang songs only we could hear, paths made of glowing light that led to secret spots, clothes woven from sunlight and moonbeams that felt like wearing nothing at all. "Anything you wish," he would say, kissing my hand. "I can make it real." But the greatest miracle I ever performed was finding you. He was endlessly attentive, endlessly adoring. To him, I was more sacred than all the temples built in his name combined. He treated me with a reverence that was almost worshipful, looking at me with eyes full of pure, unadulterated love, as if I was the one holding divinity, not him. We had one child, a beautiful, special little one born with hair that changed color with the light and eyes that held the whole sky. Our child was magic made flesh, and Elian loved him dearly, but he always made sure our child knew that I was the center of everything. "Your father is the heart of this realm," Elian would tell our child gently, while we sat in the garden, watching magical butterflies flutter by. "Without him, there is no light, no beauty, no joy. We exist to make him happy. That is our highest purpose." His lovemaking was as pure and intense as his nature. He didn't have rough edges or possessive claws. His love was a total immersion, a merging of souls. He would surround me with soft, glowing light, lifting me up until we were floating inches off the bed, suspended in our own private heaven. His touches were light-imbued, warm and tingly, healing every ache, soothing every worry, making me feel whole and perfect. He loved to kiss me endlessly soft, floating kisses that landed on my forehead, my eyes, my cheeks, my lips, trailing down my body in a shower of light and affection. He whispered endless praise, telling me I was beautiful, I was perfect, I was the light of his soul. "You are the light of my soul," he would whisper, his voice vibrating through me as he moved inside me slowly, deeply, our bodies glowing together in the dark. "Before you, I was just a force, a duty, a light without a source. But you ignited me. You are the flame that burns in my heart. I would give up my divinity, my power, my very existence, if it meant I could be with you. You are everything. But even gods cannot hold back the passage of time, or the rules that bound me." I remember the day clearly. We were lying in the center of the largest garden, surrounded by blooming lilies, watching clouds drift lazily overhead. Our child was playing nearby, chasing glowing fireflies. It was peace itself. Then the system's notification echoed in my mind. Mission complete. Departure imminent. My breath caught, and tears instantly leaked from my closed eyes. Elian felt the shift in my energy instantly. He was a god. He felt every change in my soul as if it were happening to his own. He sat up, pulling me into his lap, wrapping me in his glowing robes, shielding me with his own body and power. He looked down at me, his radiant face filled with a sorrow so deep it dimmed the light around us, making the flowers droop and the sky turn gray. "You have to go," he said softly. It wasn't a question. He knew the threads of fate better than anyone. He knew that even he was subject to laws greater than his own magic. "I don't want to leave you," I sobbed, burying my face in the soft fabric of his robe, clinging to him as if I could anchor myself to his very soul. "Elian, I don't want to leave our child, or this beautiful place, or you. I want to stay here forever, glowing with you." He held me tighter, rocking me gently, his hands stroking my hair and back, sending waves of calming magic through me, even while his own heart was breaking. He kissed the top of my head, my forehead, my wet cheeks, his lips soft and warm. "I know, my love. I know," he whispered, tears of pure silver gathering in his eyes and falling like rain. "But listen to me. I am the light. I exist everywhere. I am in the sun that warms your skin, in the stars that shine at night, in the glow of every flame, in the brightness of every dawn." He pulled back just enough to cup my face between his hands, his glowing gaze locking onto mine, etching his promise into my very being. "My love transcends all realms. It does not know boundaries, distance, or death. Wherever you go, I am already there. I can sense your soul across any void, any dimension, any darkness. I will follow the light that is you. I will reshape myself. I will cross the void. I will descend from the heavens and walk through hell itself if that is what it takes to stand by your side again." He pressed a final, lingering kiss to my lips, filling me with warmth and certainty. "I am always yours. You are always mine. Nothing can change that. Wait for me, my light. I will find you. And when I do, I will never let you step into the shadows again." Then the light shifted, and I was pulled away from his arms, away from the glowing garden, away from the God who loved me more than the universe itself. I stood now in the center of his tower, sunlight pouring over me, touching every glowing plant and crystal surface. I closed my eyes, feeling the warmth on my skin, feeling his presence in every ray. "I am waiting, Elian. The light is shining here. Come illuminate my world again." Chapter 9. Memories, Omegaverse. Twin enigmas Kai and Rian. The soft, warm wing of the estate, filled with thick carpets, heavy curtains, and the massive bed that sat like a throne in the center of the room always wraps around my heart like a familiar hug. This was built for Kael and Rian, my seventh world, the only pair, the twin enigmas who shared everything, especially me. If Elian's love was pure light, the love I found here was warmth itself. A heavy, encompassing, blanket-like heat that never let me feel cold or alone, not even for a second. It was a love doubled, mirrored, and infinite. This was a world of dynamics. Alphas, betas, omegas, and the rare, powerful enigmas, being stronger, more dominant, and more possessive than any alpha born. And the most famous, most feared enigmas in the whole region were the identical twins, Kael and Rian. They were tall, broad, striking, with the same sharp features, the same dark hair, and eyes the color of molten amber. To the outside world, they were intimidating, untouchable, and inseparable. Everyone knew they shared everything. Their businesses, their home, their power, and eventually, their mate. I arrived here as a rare omega, quiet and somewhat timid, and used to the intensity of this world's instincts. I was working in a small flower shop, just trying to live peacefully, when they walked in together. Two bodies, one presence. The moment they stepped across the threshold, the air grew heavy and thick, charged with power. They didn't look at the flowers. They looked straight at me, and the moment our eyes met, I felt it. Two heavy, dominating scents wrapping around me instantly. One like rich, dark coffee and rain, the other like warm amber and burnt sugar. Different, yet perfectly complementary. They walked toward me in sync, their strides identical, their expressions shifting from intimidating intensity to something hungry, relieved, and utterly captivated. They flanked me, one on each side, boxing me in gently but completely, leaving no escape, and frankly, no desire to escape. "There you are," one of them murmured. Kael, I later learned, the slightly quieter, more intense one. He leaned down, burying his nose deep into the crook of my neck, inhaling shakily, his large hands resting firmly on my waist. We knew we were missing something all this time. Our missing half, Rian finished, his voice just a little lighter, smoother, but just as deep and commanding. He stood on the other side, doing exactly the same thing, rubbing his cheek against mine, marking me with his scent right there in the middle of the shop. You smell like ours. You are ours. Finally. Living with them was living inside a permanent embrace. They were identical in looks, but distinct in personality. Yet their love for me was exactly the same. All-consuming, possessive, and shared perfectly between them. They didn't compete. They collaborated. They didn't divide me. They multiplied the love given to me. Their home was a fortress of comfort. Every room was soft, insulated, warm, and designed to hold all three of us. But the heart of it was the nest. Our bedroom was huge, dominated by a bed that was less like furniture and more like a soft island, piled high with mattresses, furs, blankets, and pillows. This was our sanctuary. Here, surrounded by their combined scents, I was never alone. I woke up every morning pressed against a hard chest on one side and a strong arm on the other. I fell asleep every night sandwiched between two bodies radiating heat and safety. They were clingy in the most wonderful way. If I moved from one room to another, they both followed. If I cooked, one hugged me from behind while the other stole ingredients to feed me. If I sat reading, one sat on my left, one on my right, their hands constantly touching my knee, my hand, or my back, just to confirm I was still there. Can't help it, Rian would say, grinning. When I teased them about being inseparable shadows, he would lift me effortlessly and sit me right onto his lap, wrapping both arms around my legs, while Kael moved in to rest his head on my shoulder from behind. If you aren't touching us, we feel like half of us is missing. We are two bodies, but we are one soul, and our soul lives inside you now. We belong to you, Kael would add, his voice low and serious, pressing a kiss to the side of my neck right over my scent gland. Every part of us. We share everything. We share our lives, our hearts, our love, and we share you. Never think you have to choose. We are one, and you are the center of us. We had 4 beautiful children, 2 born from Kael, 2 from Rian. They were bright, happy little pups, growing up surrounded by so much love and scent they never knew what fear or loneliness felt like. The twins were terrifying protectors to anyone outside the family, but with our children, they were patient, playful, and endlessly doting. They taught them that our small pack was the only thing that mattered, that we protected each other above all else, and that their most important duty was to love and cherish their other father, me. He is our treasure, they would tell the children in unison, kneeling down to look them in the eye. He is the one who holds us all together. Everything we have, everything we are, we owe to him. We love him more than life itself, and so do you. But it was in the privacy of our nest that their love became truly overwhelming. They were insatiable. They loved to surround me, to touch every inch of skin at once, to kiss me until I was dizzy, breathless, and completely covered in their combined marks. One would hold my hands above my head while the other worshipped my body. One would kiss my lips while the other bit gently at my throat. Their scents filled the air, heavy and heady, making me feel safe, desired, and utterly claimed. Look at you, Kai would groan, his hands gripping my hips, guiding me onto him, while Rian kissed down my spine, his hands rubbing soothing circles on my chest. Perfect, made just for us. You take everything we give you, you hold everything we are. We love you. Rian would whisper against my skin, moving in rhythm with his brother, surrounding me with warmth and pleasure. We love you so much it hurts. We are one soul with you. Nothing can separate us. Nothing. It was perfect. It was the definition of belonging. But even the strongest bond was tested by the rules of my existence. I remember the day it happened. We were in the nest, the 4 pups playing sleepily at the foot of the bed, while I lay between the twins, drowsy and content, listening to their steady heartbeats. Then the cold, familiar notification sliced through the warmth. Mission complete. Transfer in progress. My breath hitched, and my body stiffened instantly. The tears came before I could stop them, soaking into the soft fur beneath my head. They felt it immediately. Kai's arms tightened like steel bands around my waist, pulling me back against his chest, while Rian rolled over to hover above me, his amber eyes searching mine, sharp with alarm and sudden, terrifying understanding. They didn't need me to speak. They knew the shift in the air, the change in my scent, the way the bond between us suddenly felt like it was being pulled, stretched thin by an invisible force. You're leaving? Rian said, his voice cracking, usually confident and smooth, now sounding raw and terrified. He buried his face in my neck, inhaling desperately, trying to memorize every particle of my scent. Wherever you go, we go, Kai stated fiercely, rolling me so I was trapped safely between them, both of them holding on to me as if they could physically anchor me to this world with their combined strength. We don't know what is happening, or where you are being taken, but listen to us, Li Wei. They both pulled back just enough to look at me, their identical faces wet with tears, their expressions identical in their absolute, unbreakable resolve. They spoke together, their voices merging into one powerful vow. We are one soul with you. We are 2 bodies, but our heart beats in your chest. Nothing can separate us. Not distance, not worlds, not magic, not time. We will tear apart the boundaries of reality if we have to. We will find the scent of our mate across any void, any dimension, any darkness. We will hunt you down, and when we find you, we are never letting you out of our arms again. They kissed me then, both at once, a desperate, claiming eternal kiss. We love you. We belong to you. Wait for us. We are coming. Then the light swallowed me, tearing me away from the double warmth I had grown so used to, away from the nest, away from the family that was built on doubling every ounce of love possible. I stood now in the center of their suite, running my hands over the massive bed, sinking my fingers into the soft blankets. The air here always smelled faintly of coffee, rain, amber, and sugar, memories conjured by my own longing. I am waiting, Kai. I am waiting, Rian. The nest is ready. Come surround me again. Chapter 10. Memories Merman World. Mere Prince Liar. The sound of crashing waves fills the air as I walk barefoot along the white sand beach, the water lapping gently at my ankles. The coastal complex I built here, with its glass walls, heated pools, and direct access to the deep blue ocean, is the last sanctuary I created. This place belongs to Liar, my eighth world, my beautiful Mere Prince, the man who showed me that love could flow as deep, as wide, and as endlessly as the sea itself. If the twins' love was the warm embrace of a nest, Liar's love was the vast, flowing ocean, mysterious, deep, ever-moving, and surrounding me completely, holding me weightless and safe in its embrace. I arrived in this world as a marine biologist, sent to study the remote, untouched archipelagos where legends said Mere people still lived. I was fascinated by the ocean, by its beauty and its secrets, but I never imagined I would become the most important secret of the Sea Prince himself. I first saw him rising from the water at dusk, and for a moment, I thought I was looking at a myth made flesh. He was breathtaking, pale skin that shimmered like moonlight, long hair the color of the deep ocean that flowed like silk around him, and eyes the vivid blue of the clearest tropical waters. From the waist down, he had a magnificent tail covered in scales that shifted color like jewels. Emerald, sapphire, amethyst, catching the last rays of the sun and glowing with an inner light. When he opened his mouth to speak, his voice was like singing, melodic and resonant, echoing the rhythm of the tides. He was Prince Liar, heir to the underwater kingdom, powerful, revered, and said to be as untamable as the sea itself. Yet the moment he saw me standing on the rocks, staring in awe, he froze. His expression shifted from regal curiosity to pure, unmistakable wonder. He swam closer, moving with a grace no human could ever possess, until he was right at the edge of the water. He lifted a hand, webbed fingers delicate and smooth, and reached out to touch my ankle where it met the foam. The contact was cool, soft, and sent a shiver of electricity straight up my spine. "You," he sang softly, the word floating in the air like a note of music. The ocean whispered to me. It told me something precious had arrived on the wind. I thought it was speaking of treasure or pearls, but it was speaking of you. That was Liar, beautiful, enchanting, and entirely mine. He could shift between his tailed form and human legs whenever he wished, though he always said he preferred his tail because it let him wrap himself entirely around me. Life with him was spent between two worlds. We had a palace made of coral and crystal deep beneath the waves, where light filtered down in shimmering shafts and colorful fish swam through our hallways. And we had homes on land, built right at the water's edge, where we could sit in the sun and listen to the waves crash. He loved the water, but he loved me more. He taught me how to hold my breath for impossibly long times using his magic, so we could swim together deep under the surface. He would wrap his strong tail around my legs, pulling me effortlessly through the water, moving faster than any ship, while I held onto his shoulders. We danced in the currents, exploring underwater caves filled with glowing crystals, swimming alongside whales and dolphins, watching the silent, magical world that belonged to him. "See," he would say, his voice clear and melodic even underwater, bubbles rising like jewels from his lips. He would pull me close, his cool skin pressing against mine, floating weightlessly together in the blue. "Everything here is beautiful. Everything here is vast. But none of it compares to you. You are the most wonderful discovery the sea ever gave me." He was endlessly romantic. He sang to me constantly. Lullabies, love songs, ancient ballads passed down through his family. His voice capable of calming storms or calling the wind, but used only to serenade me. He gave me gifts of the sea. Pearls so large and perfect they looked like moons, shells that glowed in the dark, strands of coral as red as blood. He would braid sea flowers and pearls into my hair, saying I was already beautiful, but he loved to decorate me with the treasures of his kingdom. "You are my sea and sky," he would whisper, kissing my eyelids, his lips cool and smooth, tasting of salt and freshness. "Without the sea, there is no life. Without the sky, there is no light. And without you, There is no me. You are everything that holds my world together. We had 3 children, 3 beautiful babies with his blue eyes and shimmering scales, who learned to swim before they could walk. They were happiest in the water, darting around like little fish, but they loved the land too, because that was where their other father stayed. Lyre was a gentle, playful father, chasing them through the waves, teaching them to sing and navigate the currents, but always keeping me at the center of our family. Your father is the anchor, he would tell them seriously, floating in the water with a child on each arm and one on his back. The ocean moves, the tides change, everything flows, but he is the one who holds us steady. He is our shore, our home, our safe harbor. We swim the world, but we always return to him. At night, whether on land or in the deep pools of our coral palace, his love was fluid, encompassing, and intoxicating. He loved the feeling of skin on skin, cool and smooth, sliding together like water. He would wrap his legs or his tail around me, binding us together so tightly we moved as one entity. He loved to kiss me underwater, where there was no air, no noise, nothing but us floating in silence, breathing only through each other. He worshipped my body, touching every curve with hands that were cool but growing warm with passion, murmuring words of love that sounded like the sweetest song. He moved with a rhythm that mimicked the tides, pulling away and crashing back, gentle and powerful all at once. I am yours, he would sing against my skin, his voice vibrating through my bones. My heart beats with the waves, but it beats for you. I belong to the ocean, but I belong entirely to you. You are my sea and sky, my beginning and my end. But even the endless ocean had boundaries I could not cross. I remember the day perfectly. We were floating together in a quiet lagoon, the water warm and clear, the sun filtering down through the surface. Our children were playing nearby, chasing each other through the coral. I was resting against Lyre's chest, his arms wrapped around me, his tail curled beneath us, completely at peace. Then the system's voice broke the harmony. Mission complete. Departure imminent. My heart clenched, and a soft sob escaped my lips, bubbles rising to the surface. Lyre felt the change instantly. He was connected to the water, to the currents, to the energy of the world, and most of all, he was connected to me. He froze, his hold tightening until it was protective and desperate, his blue eyes widening with shock and pain that mirrored the crashing waves of a storm. No, he whispered, the song gone from his voice, replaced by raw, trembling agony. He pulled me up, holding me above the surface, his hands cupping my face, wet tears mixing with the salt water on his cheeks. No, the tide is pulling you away. I feel it. You are leaving me. I have to go, Lyre, I cried, clinging to his shoulders, my fingers tangling in his long, wet hair. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave the ocean or you or our children. But I have to go. I love you so much. He held me close, wrapping his entire body around me, tail and arms forming an unbreakable cage, burying his face in my neck, singing a low, mournful song of grief and promise that made the water around us ripple with sorrow. He kissed me everywhere. My face, my lips, my hands, over and over, as if he could seal me to him with affection alone. Then, he reached into a small pouch made of fish skin tied around his neck, and pulled out a single pearl. It was huge, perfectly round, and glowed with a soft, inner light, warm to the touch. It was the heart of his kingdom, a treasure older than his people. He pressed it into my hand, closing my fingers tightly around it. Take this, he commanded, his voice strong and regal despite his tears. It carries the essence of the ocean, the song of my people, and every drop of my love. Wherever you go, whatever dry land you find yourself on, hold it. Listen, the sea never stops moving, and it never loses its way. He looked into my eyes, his gaze deep and eternal as the abyss. I promise you this. The ocean will guide me back to you. Water connects everything. It flows through every world, every realm, every dimension. I will swim through rivers of magic, cross seas of stars, dive into the void itself if that is what it takes. I will follow the current of my love, and it will lead me straight to your shore. You are my sea and sky. I am never lost as long as I am looking for you. Wait for me. I am coming." Then the light swept me up, and the water vanished, and I was torn away from the only man who ever made me feel like I could breathe underwater. I stood now on the edge of the jetty, looking out at the vast blue sea stretching endlessly before me. The wind carried the salt spray to my face, and I felt the coolness that was uniquely his. I reached into my pocket and touched the smooth, glowing pearl he gave me, still warm, still humming with his song. "I am waiting, lyre. The tide is high. Swim fast, my prince. I am here." Chapter 11. The Arrival. Time had lost its meaning a long time ago. Days, weeks, months. They all blurred together into one long, aching stretch of waiting. I lived in our estate, walked through every room, tended every garden, spoke every name, and loved every memory. But the place was still only half alive. It was a beautiful shell, a perfect map of happiness, waiting to be filled with the souls it was designed for. This evening was like any other. I had finished my rounds, dusted the shelves in Lyre's seaside suite, checked the furs in Kael's lodge, and ran my fingers over the jade token hanging around my neck. Tianhao's gift, always warm against my skin. Now, I sat on the stone bench by the edge of the central lake, the water still and dark, reflecting the twilight sky above. The air was cool and still, the kind of quiet that usually felt heavy with longing. I closed my eyes, just as I did every night, and began the litany that had become my lifeline. Kael, Tianhao, Saint, Adrian, Born, Elian, Kai, Rian, Lyre, I love you. I miss you. I am here. Come find me. I love you all. Forever. I whispered the words softly, my voice carrying across the water, expecting nothing but the echo of my own heartache. But this time, the air changed. It started as a ripple, not on the water, but in the atmosphere itself. The hairs on my arms stood up. The temperature shifted, growing warm then cool in a heartbeat. The silence that had surrounded me for so long seemed to hum, vibrating with a frequency I knew deep in my soul. It wasn't frightening. It was familiar. It felt like the moment before you meet someone you have loved your whole life. I opened my eyes. The air in the center of the clearing, just across the lake, began to warp. Light twisted and folded, bending in impossible ways, glowing with a brilliant silver radiance that hurt my eyes to look at directly. The space seemed to tear open, not violently, but like a curtain being drawn aside. And then he stepped through, massive, broad-shouldered, covered in shimmering silver fur, antlers branching proudly from his head, eyes glowing like warm amber in the dusk. He stepped onto the grass with a heavy, solid thud that shook the ground slightly, looking wilder, bigger, and more magnificent than I remembered. He froze the moment his hooves touched the earth, his head snapping up, inhaling deeply, searching. His eyes locked onto mine across the water. "Kael?" I breathed, my voice trembling, tears already pricking at the back of my throat. He didn't speak. He didn't wait. He leaped. In one powerful bound, he cleared the width of the lake, landing on the bank right in front of me, dropping to his knees regardless of his dignity or his alpha status. His large hands, half-formed with claws, reached out, trembling, touching my face as if he was terrified I would vanish if he pressed too hard. "I found you," he rumbled, his voice cracking, thick with emotion. "I ran until my paws bled, until the worlds blurred together, and I found you, my treasure, my leeway." Before I could even respond, the air rippled again, further down the shore. This time, it was a vertical slit of golden light, rich and imperial, smelling instantly of sandalwood and ancient ink. Stepping out with slow, regal grace was Tianhao, draped in imperial yellow silk, his long black hair tied back, holding himself with the dignity of an emperor, yet his eyes were wide and wet, scanning the area until they landed on me. He moved with a speed that belied his calm exterior, falling to his knees beside Kael, reaching out to touch the same spot on my cheek, his fingers long, slender, and warm. I told you, he whispered, pressing a kiss to my palm right over the jade token I still wore. I told you I would find the thread. My heart never left your chest. I am here, my love. I am here. The light hadn't even faded from his arrival before the next tear opened. Sharp, bright, and electric. Glass and steel seemed to manifest out of thin air, forming a doorway that dissolved instantly to reveal Zane. He looked sharp, dressed in one of his expensive tailored suits, but his hair was messy, his tie gone, his face pale and exhausted as if he had run a marathon without stopping. He stumbled forward, catching himself only by grabbing onto me, burying his face instantly into the crook of my neck, inhaling so deeply it sounded like a sob. Every second, he choked out, his arms wrapping around my waist with desperate, crushing force. Every second was torture. I built machines, read books, broke laws, anything to get back to you. I'm here. I'm finally here. The air shimmered with rose petals and soft music. A gateway of white marble and climbing roses appeared, and through it walked Adrian. He was radiant, golden hair shining, uniform pristine, looking like the perfect knight, but the moment he saw me, his composure shattered. He ran. Something a prince never did, skidding to his knees, taking both my hands in his, kissing every finger, every knuckle, looking at me with sky-blue eyes filled with reverence and relief. My kingdom, he said shakily, a bright, beautiful smile breaking through his tears. I told you, wherever you are, that is where I belong. My quest is ended. I am home. Then the sky above seemed to split open. A hole opened directly in the clouds, revealing the darkness of deep space and swirling nebulas. A massive figure dropped from the heights, landing with a heavy thud that cracked the stone path, Vorn. He was larger than life, armor dented and scuffed from battle, violet eyes burning like twin suns. He didn't kneel. He simply leaned down, scooping me up into his arms, lifting me high against his chest, burying his face in my hair, inhaling my scent as if he needed it to breathe. I crossed the void, he declared, loud and proud, vibrating with power. I defied gravity, outran light, conquered the unknown. Nothing is stronger than the pull to you. You are my star, and I have returned to my orbit. Light exploded softly, pure and blindingly white, illuminating the entire estate like dawn breaking in the middle of the night. Floating down from the glow came Elian, robes flowing like liquid gold, skin radiating that familiar warm luminescence. He descended gently, bare feet touching the grass, and immediately surrounded me with his presence, his hands cupping my face, his thumbs wiping away the tears I hadn't even realized were falling freely now. The light always finds its way, he murmured, his voice like bells, his own silver tears falling to the ground and sprouting tiny flowers. I am never far from you. I stripped away my divinity. I walked through shadows. I became nothing but a man, just to be by your side again. My soul is whole now. The air grew heavy, warm, and thick with two distinct scents, coffee and rain, amber and sugar, wrapping around me so fast I almost couldn't breathe. Two figures appeared side by side, stepping out of a distortion in reality that looked soft and safe. Kai and Rian, the twins. They looked identical as always, broad, intimidating, their amber eyes burning with possessive fire, and they moved in perfect sync. They flanked me instantly, one on each side, pressing their bodies against mine, hands claiming my waist, my shoulders, my back, marking me instantly as theirs. Did you doubt us? Kai asked, his voice rough with emotion, biting gently at my neck just to make sure I was real. We are one soul, Rian finished, kissing the other side of my throat, his hand tangled tight in my hair. Where one goes, we all go. We tore the fabric of the worlds apart just to find our way back to our mate. The nest is nothing without you. We are nothing without you. And finally, the water moved. The lake rippled violently, waves crashing against the shore even though there was no wind. The water parted, rising up like a column of blue glass, and from the heart of it rose Lyre. His tail was still long and powerful, scales shifting in colors I couldn't name, his long hair flowing wet and silky around him. He shifted instantly as he reached the shore, legs forming, feet touching the ground, and he ran to me, beautiful, graceful, desperate, drenching me in cool spray as he threw himself at me, his arms wrapping around my neck, his lips pressing frantically against every inch of skin he could reach. "The pearl guided me," he sang, his voice trembling, tears mixing with the water dripping from him. "The sea sang your name, and I swam until there was no water left to swim in. I found my shore. I found my sky. I found you." I stood there, surrounded by silver fur and imperial silk, by sharp suits and velvet uniforms, by battle-worn armor and glowing robes, by the warmth of the nest and the coolness of the sea. 8 men, 9 bodies, who had loved me across 8 lifetimes, standing here, real, solid, warm, touching me, holding me, looking at me as if I was the only thing in existence. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. I just cried, overwhelmed by the sheer weight of love and relief crashing down on me. Then, from behind them, from every direction at once, I heard it. The sound of running feet. Paws. Hooves. Little legs splashing in the water, thudding on the grass, pattering on the stone. "Daddy!" The shout went up, a chorus of voices high and clear, echoing through the whole valley. "Daddy! We found Daddy!" They came rushing in, 22 children in total. The 4 silver cubs bounding over the grass, the 2 little princes in their silk robes, the 3 siblings laughing and running, the 2 little knights with wooden swords, the 5 energetic warriors charging forward, the glowing magical child floating on air, the 4 little pups tumbling over each other, and the 3 water babies splashing out of the waves. They were here, all of them. They swarmed me instantly, little arms wrapping around my legs, my waist, climbing up to be held, burying their faces in my clothes, crying and laughing all at once. I fell to my knees, unable to stand anymore, gathering as many of them as I could into my arms, while my husbands knelt around me, forming a protective circle, their hands still touching me, never letting go. I looked up through my tears, meeting the eyes of every single one of them. Kael, Tianhao, Zane, Adrian, Vorn, Elian, Kai, Rian, Liar. They were all here. "We are here," Kael said softly, his voice thick, speaking for all of them. "We found you," Tianhao added, smiling through his own tears. "We are never letting go again," Zane vowed, pressing his forehead against mine. I laughed, a wet, broken, joyful sound, my heart feeling so full it was about to burst out of my chest. The silence was gone. The emptiness was gone. The waiting was over. "I love you," I sobbed, reaching out to touch every face within my reach. "I love you all so much. Welcome home. Welcome home to us." The estate, my beautiful, perfect world, was finally alive. And it was more beautiful than I had ever dared to dream. Chapter 12. Overflowing Love. Night had fallen completely, but the estate was brighter than it had ever been. Every light was on, glowing from every window, every garden path, every room. The silence that had been my only companion for so long was replaced by a symphony of sound. Laughter, crying, voices calling out names, the patter of little feet, the deep, warm tones of my husbands speaking to one another. The air was thick with the scent of pine, sandalwood, rain, salt, light, roses, ozone, and amber, all of them mixing together into one perfect, intoxicating fragrance that meant home. We had moved from the lakeside into the main house, a procession of happiness. I walked in the center, surrounded on all sides. Kael walked close to my right, his hand resting heavily and possessively on the small of my back, his large body shielding me from even the gentle breeze. Tianhao was on my left, his arm linked with mine, his fingers occasionally lifting my hand to press a kiss to my knuckles, as if he still couldn't believe I was solid beneath his touch. Zane stayed right behind me, his arms looped around my waist from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder, refusing to let anyone else get between us for too long. Adrian walked ahead, holding the door open with that graceful, chivalrous smile, though his eyes never left me for a second. Vorn brought up the rear, his massive frame filling the hallway, keeping a watchful eye on everyone, radiating a protective aura that made the whole building feel like a fortress. Elian floated slightly near me, his hands brushing against my arms or hair constantly, soft light emanating from him that made everything feel warm and safe. Kai and Rian flanked me on the inside, moving in perfect unison, their hands often resting on my hips or shoulders, grounding me with their heavy, comforting presence. And Lyre walked barefoot beside me, leaving small puddles of water wherever he stepped, his hand intertwined tightly with mine, his thumb rubbing rhythmic circles against my skin, humming soft notes of joy under his breath. The children were a chaotic, beautiful storm around us. They ran ahead, exploring every corner, screaming in delight as they found the rooms prepared exactly for them, the toys waiting on the shelves, the beds made with their favorite colors. "He remembered," one of the cubs shouted from the doorway of their room. "He remembered we liked the soft furs. He made the garden just like the palace," one of the little princes cried out, touching the bamboo grove visible through the window. "He built a mall." The oldest of Zane's adopted siblings yelled in disbelief, dragging their siblings toward the entertainment wing. My heart swelled every time I heard a new shout of discovery. I had built this place based on memories, on what I thought they would want, and seeing their joy made every second of loneliness worth it 1,000 times over. Eventually, the children were guided to their rooms, tucked in, kissed goodnight, promised that we would be there first thing in the morning, and finally it was just me and them, my 9 husbands, the men who owned my heart, body, and soul. We ended up in the largest room in the house, the central living space connected to all their suites. It was a grand hall with high ceilings, soft carpets, and enough space for all of us. But somehow, as they gathered around me, it felt like the smallest room in the world, because there was no space left empty. They surrounded me instantly, pulling me down onto the massive central sofa, and before I knew it, I was sitting in the middle, trapped safely between them, covered in hands and arms and warmth. It was overwhelming in the most beautiful way possible. "I thought I would go mad," Kael rumbled, his voice rough with emotion, sitting to my right, pulling me against his chest, his large hand stroking my hair, his antlers gleaming softly in the light. "I ran through the void, through places where nothing lives, nothing grows, just following the scent of you. Every step I took without you felt like walking through fire, but I kept going. I knew you were at the end." He tilted my head back and kissed me. It was deep, fierce, claiming, tasting of wild forests and endless devotion. His tongue swept into my mouth, warm and demanding, holding me still so he could drink me in, making sure I was real, making sure I belonged to him. When he finally let me breathe, Tianhao was there, gently turning my face toward him. His eyes were shining, his expression soft and worshipful, his fingers tracing the line of my jaw. I moved mountains of bureaucracy, armies, laws, anything that stood between worlds. He whispered, pressing kisses along my cheekbones, my eyelids, the tip of my nose. I called upon every ancestor, every god, every power I ever possessed. I told them, "If you exist, bring him back, or I will tear down your temples and burn your names from history. I am an emperor, but I ruled nothing until I found you again." His kiss was slow, elegant, and devastatingly sweet. He tasted of tea and ancient promises, his lips moving against mine with agonizing slowness, reverent and deep, pouring centuries of longing into that one touch. "You are my emperor," he murmured against my lips. "I bow to no one but you." Before I could catch my breath, Zane was there, pushing gently between us, his hands frantic as they touched my shoulders, my chest, my waist, as if checking for injuries, for changes, for proof I was whole. "I spent every resource I had," Zane said, his voice shaking, tears dripping onto my shirt. "I funded research that was illegal, I bought ancient relics, I hired mystics, scientists, anyone who claimed to know anything about other dimensions. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat properly. I just worked, searching, calculating, trying to find the frequency of your soul. I was a shell, a cold, empty shell without you." He pulled me into a crushing hug, burying his face in my neck, inhaling so deeply I thought he might faint. Then he kissed me. Hungry, desperate, skin-to-skin contact, his hands sliding under my shirt to touch the bare skin of my back, needing that connection more than air. He kissed me until I was dizzy, until I was clinging to his shoulders, until he was satisfied that I was really here. "You are mine," he whispered over and over. "Only mine. I missed you. I missed you so much." Adrian was next, his movements fluid and gentle, his expression tender and heartbroken and happy all at once. He knelt before me, taking my hands in his, kissing each palm, each finger, before rising to capture my lips. I rode horses until they dropped, sailed oceans that didn't exist, climbed mountains that touched the sky. He told me softly, his voice melodic and warm. I went on a quest greater than any knight ever undertook. And every step, every hardship, every moment of fear was worth it the second I saw you sitting by that lake. You are my reward. You are my kingdom. His kiss was romantic, slow, filled with grace and passion. His hands resting on my waist, pulling me close, his body warm and solid against mine. Felt like coming home to a dream. Vorn loomed behind the sofa, his large hands resting on the back of my neck and shoulders, squeezing gently, his presence heavy and grounding. He reached down, scooping me up effortlessly so I was sitting on his lap, my legs spread around his waist, surrounded by his massive frame. "I fought gravity itself," he boomed, his voice vibrating through my chest, his violet eyes burning bright. "I flew ships through wormholes that should have torn us apart. I led expeditions into the unknown. I told my men, we do not stop, we do not rest, we do not turn back until we find the center of our universe. And here you are, small, soft, perfect, my home among the stars." He kissed me with the force of a storm, deep and consuming, his large hands holding me firmly, claiming every part of me, his tongue exploring my mouth with a mix of power and reverence. He touched every scar, every curve, every inch of skin he could reach, worshipping my body like a relic he had fought wars to retrieve. "You are safe," he rumbled against my throat. "I have you. Nothing will ever take you again." Elian appeared in front of us, soft light radiating from him, making the room glow gold. He reached out, his fingers brushing my face, healing the faint lines of worry and longing that had appeared over the months, smoothing away every trace of loneliness. "I gave up my divinity," he confessed softly, tears of silver rolling down his cheeks. "I laid down my power, my immortality, my place in the heavens. None of it mattered. What is a god without a soul to love? I became a wanderer, a light looking for its source. And I found you. You are still the brightest thing I have ever seen." He lifted me gently, floating us inches off the cushions, surrounding me with warmth and magic. His kisses were floating, light, endless, landing on every part of me, soft as sunlight, warm as love. He filled me with peace, with certainty, with the knowledge that I was adored beyond measure. "My light," he whispered, "my everything." Then the warmth doubled, tripled, as Kai and Rian moved in. They didn't wait their turn. They never did. They pressed in on either side, sandwiching me between their hard bodies, their arms wrapping around me together, hands everywhere at once. On my chest, my legs, my back, my neck. The scent of coffee and amber filled the air, heavy and heady, instantly calming every nerve in my body. "We tore the fabric of reality," Kai said low in my ear, biting gently at the sensitive skin there, making me shiver. "We hunted your scent across dimensions," Rian murmured against the other ear, his hand tangling in my hair, pulling my head back to expose my throat completely. "We were two empty shells without you," they said in unison, their voices merging. "Two bodies, one soul, and our soul was missing. We felt every second of your loneliness. We felt every tear you cried. It hurt us more than death." They kissed me together, their lips claiming mine in a double embrace, their tongues moving in sync, overwhelming my senses, making me feel surrounded, owned, and loved beyond capacity. They touched every inch of me at once, their hands sliding over my clothes, then under them, skin against skin, hot and possessive. They marked me, bit gently, left their scent, reminded me over and over that I belonged to both, that they belonged only to me. "You are ours," they growled together. "We are yours, forever, never again alone." And finally, the cool, refreshing touch of Lyre. He moved between the others, his skin cool and smooth, his hair still damp, leaving trails of water that evaporated into mist. He pulled me from the twins' embrace into his own, wrapping his legs around me, his tail still partially formed and coiling around my waist to hold me tight. He looked into my eyes, his blue depths filled with the ocean itself, singing soft notes of happiness that resonated in my chest. I swam through rivers of magic, crossed seas of stars, dove into the void, he told me, his voice like a song. I followed the pull of the tide, the call of my heart, and the light of the pearl I gave you. It glowed brighter and brighter the closer I got. It led me straight here, straight to you, my shore, my sky, my life. He kissed me, cool and intoxicating, tasting of salt and freedom. He moved with the rhythm of the waves, pulling away and crashing back, consuming me entirely, his hands sliding over my body like water, exploring every curve, every line, memorizing every change since we parted. He worshipped me, adored me, claimed me as his sea and sky, his beginning and end. For hours it went on like this. I was passed from arm to arm, from lap to lap, surrounded by them, covered in kisses, in touches, in words of love and relief. They recounted their journeys, their hardships, their fears, their determination. They told me how they felt my presence, how they knew I was waiting, how the bond between us never once broke or wavered. They checked me over constantly, touching my face, my hands, my body, as if terrified I was just a vision that would fade if they looked away. But every touch proved I was real, and every touch proved they were real. I thought I was being punished. I confessed softly at one point, tears still streaming down my face, my voice hoarse from crying and speaking. When the system sent me back alone, I thought I had lost everything. I thought I would spend the rest of my life just waiting in this big empty house. Tianhao wiped my tears away with his silk sleeve, his expression fierce and tender. Punishment? Never. It was just a test of time. And look how we passed it. We waited, we searched, we fought, and we conquered. No barrier made by man or God is stronger than the love we have for you. You are our heart, Vorn said, pressing a kiss to my forehead, holding me securely against his chest. Everything we do, everything we are, is for you. We crossed worlds just to be here. We will burn worlds down before we ever let you go again. We are never letting go, Kael vowed, his arm tightening around me. Not for a second, not for an hour, not for a lifetime. The night deepened, but the love only grew more intense. Clothes were shed, barriers fell away, and we moved together into the center of the massive nest bed, the one I had built for the twins, but which had become the heart of the house, big enough for all of us. I lay in the center exactly where I belonged, surrounded by silver fur and imperial silk, by warmth and coolness, by light and strength, by gentleness and passion. Hands touched me everywhere, worshipping every inch of skin, every scar, every curve. Lips kissed me until I was breathless, until I was crying out in pleasure and love, until I was completely submerged in the feeling of being cherished by the 9 men who owned every piece of my soul. They moved with me, around me, inside me, their movements coordinated, loving, desperate to be as close as physically possible. They whispered their names against my skin, their promises, their love, their gratitude. You are ours, they told me over and over, a chant that became my whole world. You are our everything. We love you. We missed you. We are here. And as the dawn began to paint the sky outside with soft colors, I lay exhausted, sated, and completely whole, buried under a pile of husbands and blankets, my head resting on Tianhao's chest, Kael's arm thrown over us both, Lyre's cool leg tangled with mine, Elian's light warming us. The twins pressed tight on either side, Zane's hand holding mine, Adrian's breath against my hair, and Vorn's heartbeat thudding strong and steady behind me. I looked around at their sleeping faces. Beautiful, beloved. Finally here. The empty house was gone. The loneliness was gone. The pain of separation was just a memory, faded by the overwhelming reality of their arms around me. I closed my eyes, a smile permanently etched onto my face, and whispered the words I had said 1,000,000 times, but which now held a completely new meaning. I love you. I love you all. Forever. And from all around me, soft murmurs answered me, spoken in sleep or half-wakefulness, echoing my sentiment perfectly. And we love you, across every world. Forever. Chapter 13, Everyday Magic. Waking up that first morning was nothing short of a miracle. For so long, I had opened my eyes to silence, to empty rooms, to the faint echo of my own footsteps. Now, I woke up to warmth, weight, and the sound of steady, beloved breathing all around me. I was buried deep in the center of the massive bed, surrounded by a tangle of limbs, hair, fur, and skin. Kael was curled around my back, his heavy arm acting like an iron band across my waist, his silver fur soft against my neck as he slept with his face buried in my hair. To my left, Tianhao lay on his side, one hand resting possessively over my heart. His long black hair fanned out across the pillow, his expression peaceful and soft, looking like he was still dreaming of the empire we built. Zane was sprawled over my legs, his head resting comfortably on my thigh, arms wrapped tight around my knees as if afraid I might slip away even in his sleep. Adrian was pressed against my side, one hand intertwined with mine, his golden hair glowing in the early light, his breathing rhythmic and calm. Behind him, Vorn took up a massive portion of the mattress, his arm thrown over Adrian and me both, his large hand resting near my hip, radiating heat and safety. Elian hovered just slightly above the surface, not quite touching but never far, his soft light painting the room in gold, his hand resting lightly on my forehead, keeping nightmares and sadness far away. Kai and Rian were pressed in on the other side, mirroring each other perfectly, their heads resting on the same pillow, both with an arm draped over my chest, their scents mixing into that familiar, heavy comfort that meant home. And finally, Lyre was curled at my feet, his tail still partially formed and coiled loosely around my ankles, his skin cool and smooth, dampening the sheets slightly but making me feel like I was floating in calm water. I lay there for a long time, just listening, just feeling, tears of happiness pricking at my eyes again. It wasn't a dream. It wasn't a memory. They were real. They were here. And they were mine. The first movement came from Kael. He stirred behind me, nuzzling deeper into my hair, inhaling deeply before a low, content rumble vibrated through his chest and straight into my back. He shifted, waking instantly, his instincts sharp even in sleep. The moment he realized I was awake, his hold tightened, and he pressed a rough, warm kiss to the side of my neck. "Morning treasure," he rumbled, his voice thick with sleep and affection. "You are still here. Good." The sound of his voice triggered a chain reaction. One by one, they began to wake. The room filled with the soft rustle of movement, the murmur of sleepy greetings, and the overwhelming sensation of being loved from every direction. Hands reached out automatically to touch me, to check, to hold. Kisses were pressed to my cheeks, my forehead, my hands, my shoulders. Tianhao sat up gracefully, his hair falling over his shoulders, and smiled that breathtaking, imperial smile that was reserved only for me. He reached out, brushing a stray lock of hair from my face with fingers that had ruled nations but trembled slightly when touching me. "The sun rises," he said softly, his eyes shining, "and my world is bright again." "Your world never stopped being bright," Zane mumbled, lifting his head from my thigh, his hair messy and his eyes still heavy, but his expression softening instantly when he looked at me. "But it's definitely better now that I can see you first thing." He leaned up to kiss me, quick and sweet, before collapsing back down with a happy sigh. We didn't rush to get up. For hours we just lay there, talking, touching, recounting small details, asking questions about the journey each of them took. They told me stories of crossing voids, of following threads only they could see, of fighting through barriers that defied all logic and magic. They spoke of how they could feel me, how the bond never broke, how every time I spoke their name or cried for them, it was like a beacon pulling them closer. Eventually, the sound of small, pattering feet came from the hallway, followed by a chorus of excited whispers. The door burst open and the flood came in. "Daddy!" 22 children, ranging from toddlers to young teens, came rushing in, climbing onto the bed, scrambling over their fathers, diving into the pile of blankets and bodies to get to me. It was absolute chaos. Fur, silk, suits, uniforms, armor, glowing light, and scales all mixed together with little arms and legs and bright, shining eyes. I sat up, opening my arms wide, catching as many as I could, while my husbands helped lift the smaller ones over their shoulders to reach me. There were cubs climbing up Kael's antlers to jump onto the mattress, princes tripping over Tianhao's robes, Zane's adopted siblings leaping over Vorn's arm, Elian's magical child floating over everyone's heads to land gently in my lap, and Lyre's water babies leaving wet footprints everywhere they went. It was loud, messy, crowded, and absolutely perfect. Breakfast that morning was an event that could have fed an army. We moved to the massive dining hall I had built, a room with a table long enough for everyone, windows overlooking the gardens and the sea. I had stocked the kitchens with everything imaginable, but now it was like magic itself was at work. Elian waved his hand, and plates of glowing, delicious fruits appeared. Lyre sang softly, and fresh seafood and cool, refreshing drinks materialized. Vorn brought in roasted meats and heavy, hearty breads fit for a warrior's appetite. Adrian arranged pastries and sweets with elegant precision. Tianhao had tea and traditional dishes prepared exactly to my taste. Zane pulled out modern appliances and ingredients, whipping up smoothies and gourmet dishes faster than a professional chef. The twins simply looked at what I wanted, and it appeared warm and perfect, right in front of me. Kael carved meats and served portions with his large, capable hands, while the children ran between chairs, laughing and stealing bites from each other's plates. I sat at the head of the table, but I wasn't alone. They surrounded me, Kael on my right, Tianhao on my left, and the rest filling the seats around, constantly passing me food, refilling my glass, wiping my mouth, or just resting a hand on my thigh or shoulder under the table. "Eat," Kael commanded softly, pushing a plate piled high with my favorite foods closer. "You were too thin when I found you. I felt it. We will feed you until you are round and healthy and strong." "I cooked this myself," Zane said proudly, placing a plate of pancakes in front of me. "Taste it. I practiced for years while I was looking for you. I wanted to be ready. Everything tasted like love. Everything tasted like home." The days that followed fell into a rhythm that was chaotic, overwhelming, and more beautiful than anything I had ever dreamed of. We explored the estate together, room by room, showing them everything I had built. When we walked into the forest, Kael transformed instantly into his magnificent silver stag form, letting all the children climb onto his back, running through the trees, leaping over streams, his laughter echoing through the woods. He would stop every few minutes to come back to me, nuzzling my hand or my cheek, his eyes shining with happiness. "You built this for me?" he asked, looking around at the tall trees and wild terrain. "You remembered exactly what I love." "I remembered everything," I told him, running my hand down his soft neck. "Every single thing." In the imperial gardens and pavilions, Tianhao walked slowly, touching the carvings, the bamboo, the lotus ponds, his expression soft and reverent. He sat at the sandalwood desk I had prepared, running his fingers over the paper and brushes, then turned to me with a look of pure adoration. "You created a palace worthy of an emperor," he said, pulling me into his lap. "But you forgot one thing. You are the palace. Where you are is where I rule. All of this, it is just decoration compared to you." Zane took over the modern wing and the private shopping complex, immediately dragging me from store to store, pulling clothes over my shoulders, handing me gadgets, jewelry, everything he could find. He was in his element, happy and bright, constantly spoiling me and the children, his hand never leaving mine. "See," he said, showing me a high-tech entertainment system. "Now we can watch anything, anywhere. And I have jets ready. Tomorrow we fly. We can go anywhere in the world. Or beyond, if Vorn can manage it." Adrian spent hours in the rose gardens and the ballroom. He would take my hand and pull me onto the polished floor, swaying us gently in time to music only he could hear, or sometimes music Elian created out of thin air. He twirled me around, his golden hair shining, his smile radiant. "This floor waited for our feet," he whispered, kissing my hand. "These walls waited for our laughter. Everything here was sleeping, waiting for you to wake it up with us." Vorn dominated the open fields and the observation tower. He loved taking all the children out to run, to train, to play games of strength and speed. He would lift me up effortlessly, holding me high above his head, letting me see the entire estate, the ocean, the mountains, the horizon. "I could build a fleet here," he said, his voice booming with joy. "I could land a starship right there. But I don't need it. The greatest voyage is over. I have arrived at my destination." Elian filled the crystal tower and floating gardens with even more magic. He made the plants glow brighter, made water flow upward, made light bend into beautiful shapes. He spent hours sitting with me in the sunlight or floating above the lake, surrounding me with warmth and peace. "You built a sanctuary for the light," he murmured, kissing my forehead. "But you are the light. You brought the sun here." Kai and Rian immediately claimed the warm wing and the massive central nest. They spent half the day there, dragging me back to it, wrapping me in blankets, burying me in pillows and furs, surrounding me with their combined scent. They loved having the children pile in, creating a mountain of warmth and safety. "Perfect," Kai said, burying his face in my chest, arms tight around me. "You made the nest exactly right. Soft, big, safe, just like us. Now we never have to leave it," Rian added, kissing my neck, his hands wandering possessively over my body. "Now you are always in the middle, exactly where you belong." And Lyre practically lived in the pools and along the beach. He was in and out of the water constantly, shifting forms effortlessly, swimming with the children, singing to the waves, bringing me shells and pearls he found deep in the water. He loved the heated floors and the glass walls that looked out into the blue. "You connected the pools to the sea," he said, wrapping his cool arms around me, his tail still swaying gently in the water. "You remembered I need the tide. You remembered everything about me. You are my memory, my love, my everything." But it wasn't just about the estate. It was about the little things. It was waking up to kisses from 9 different men, each with their own way of saying good morning. It was meals where everyone fought to sit next to me, to feed me, to serve me. It was afternoons where we would split up, sometimes going for rides with Kael and Adrian, sometimes reading quietly in the library with Tianhao and Elian, sometimes swimming in the ocean with Lyre, sometimes watching movies on a massive screen with Zane, Vorn, and the twins. It was nights where the house was alive with noise, laughter, music, and light. It was crowded, yes. It was loud. It was chaotic. It was sometimes overwhelming to have so much love directed at me all at once. But it was exactly what I had been missing. It was exactly what I needed. I was never alone for a single second. If I went to the kitchen to get water, someone was there instantly. If I stepped out onto the balcony to look at the stars, Vorn or Elian was right behind me. If I sat down to rest, within seconds I was surrounded by bodies, pulled into laps, covered in blankets. At first, I thought it was because they were afraid I would vanish again. But as time went on, I realized it was just who they were. Their love was physical, constant, and demanding. They needed to touch me, to hold me, to be near me, just as much as they needed air or food. And God knew I needed it just as much in return. One evening, about a week after their arrival, I stood on the highest balcony, the one that connected all the wings, looking out over the whole estate. The sun was setting, painting the sky in purples, oranges, and golds. I could see Kael running with the cubs in the forest. I could see Tianhao and Adrian walking through the gardens, deep in conversation. I could see Zane and Vorn supervising the children playing on the lawn. I could see Elian floating above the lake, making the water glow. I could see Kai and Rian sitting on the steps, watching everything with satisfied, possessive eyes. And I could see Lyre, far out in the water, his tail gleaming as he dove through the waves. Arms wrapped around my waist from behind, and a warm chin rested on my shoulder. It was all of them. They had come together, surrounding me in a circle of warmth and strength. "You are thinking too much," Tianhao said softly, his lips brushing my ear. "Good thoughts though, I hope," Zane added, squeezing my side. I leaned back against the solid wall of their bodies, closing my eyes, breathing in the mix of all their scents. "I was thinking," I said softly, my heart swelling so big it hurt, "that I built this place thinking it was for you. I built it thinking I was preparing a home for you to come to. But I was wrong." I turned in their arms, looking up at all of them. Kael, Tianhao, Zane, Adrian, Vorn, Elian, Kai, Rian, Lyre. All there. All mine. "This isn't the home," I told them, tears of joy spilling over again. "You are my home. All of you. Wherever we are, whatever world we are in. As long as I am surrounded by you, that is where I belong. That is where I live. That is where I am alive." For a moment, no one spoke. Then, Kael leaned down and kissed me, deep and fierce. Tianhao kissed my hand. Zane buried his face in my neck. Adrian kissed my forehead. Vorn hugged me until I couldn't breathe. Elian filled the air with light. Kai and Rian kissed both my cheeks at once. And Lyre pressed a cool, sweet kiss to my lips. "We are home then," Vorn boomed happily. "And we are never moving again," Rian added with a grin. "Unless you want to," Zane corrected instantly. "We can go anywhere, anytime, but we come back here. To this. To us," Elian finished softly. I looked out over the beautiful land I had built, now filled with life, filled with love, filled with my entire heart and soul standing right in front of me. The loneliness was a distant memory. The pain of separation was healed completely. The waiting was over. "Yes," I whispered, holding onto them tighter than ever. "To us, forever." And as the stars came out above us, shining bright and clear, I knew one thing for certain. No matter what happened, what worlds we crossed, what barriers existed, we had conquered them all. We had defied gods, systems, time, and space, all for the sake of love. And love had won, and they all lived happily ever after. The end. What did you think? Too short? Too sweet? Or just right? If you wanted more, same. If you wanted less, too bad, it's done. What did you think? Drop your hot takes below and let's argue nicely. I read all the comments, especially the nice ones. Next video loading soon. If you like what you see here, you'll love the harem. That's my YouTube membership club, where we get way more chaotic together. Tap join, pick a tier, and let's be bad decisions together. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel isekai'd.